Coming up on Mountain News at 6, disaster relief volunteers from Southern Kentucky are doing what they can to help hurricane victims, what you can do to help their cause. And one Eastern Kentucky community remembers a teenager who was killed in a crash last weekend.
And we'll have the latest on what is now post-tropical Milton coming up in a few minutes.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Milton is not a hurricane anymore, but it certainly left its mark on parts of Florida. At last check, at least 5 people have died due to the storm, and it caused more than 3 million people to lose power at one point. There's still plenty in the dark tonight. For more, let's check in with meteorologist Eric Dean. Eric?
All right, Steve, here's another startling fact, too. Yesterday, remember, they had all the tornado warnings. They had 34 reports of tornadoes across central Florida yesterday. They had 126 tornado warnings just yesterday alone. So a very startling stat there across central Florida. Now here is the latest on Milton. Again, this is a post-tropical system with 70-mile-an-hour winds. This is moving fast now, east at 21 miles per hour. And we take a look here at the latest track. It's just going to stay low as we go throughout the next several days now, as it just pushes its way off towards the Atlantic. So it's no longer a threat to the U.S., but as mentioned, it did leave a substantial amount of damage across portions of central Florida yesterday. We were watching some of the sensors there. They were picking up wind gusts between 102 to 120 miles per hour before they just stopped working. So that just shows you how powerful this system was across Sarasota. Closer to home right now, live pinpoint Doppler radar showing a clean sweep, and temperatures right now are in the 60s and 70s. But we're going to cool off, and I'll tell you when in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. We're catching up with some Kentuckians who are now in Florida about the experience they had with Hurricane Milton. Angie Roworth is originally from London, but has lived in the Tampa area for the last 2.5 years. She says she did not evacuate because she felt comfortable where she lives in relation to the coastline. Milton hit about 45 miles south of her home.
We were okay with while the electricity was on because we could kind of track the news and watch what was going on and have the lights on outside. And then when we lost power about 10 p.m. last night, we were like, okay, this is pretty scary now.
Sarah Richardson, who lives in Richmond, says her and her family took shelter at a Disney resort since their trip came to a halt. Richardson says this was the first hurricane she has experienced. Gray Media, our parent company, is teaming up with the Salvation Army once again for hurricane relief efforts by making a financial donation to floridastormrelief.org. You will help the Salvation Army provide food, drinks, and emotional and spiritual care as well. And this money goes to long-term recovery services for those impacted by Milton. Just scan the QR code on your screen and you'll be directed to the website we mentioned where you can make a donation. Kentuckians fresh off helping Hurricane Helene survivors are now looking to what happened because of Hurricane Milton. Kentucky Baptist Relief has been feeding folks in Georgia, with other efforts taking place in North Carolina. People have taken supplies and food to the impacted areas after numerous donations were given. A group from Pulaski County just returned from Tennessee. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to several people doing what they can to help others.
There's been only one way into some of the hardest hit areas in Tennessee and North Carolina, and some volunteers from Southern Kentucky saw that firsthand.
We backed in, we donated, and it seemed like within an hour, the product was already on a helicopter headed to help people that was in need.
King says an idea generated in his mind on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it came together overnight.
And then it translated into a massive donation drive and then a full trailer of water, baby formula, and food for East Tennessee.
250 hot dogs, I think it was. Packaged them up. We made 150 plus cold cut sandwiches and made like brown bag lunches and put on the helicopters.
Kentucky Baptist Relief is typically very busy this time of the year, mostly because of hurricanes. They are ready with chainsaw crews, cleanup crews, and feeding teams. They have been in Valdosta, Georgia, and now their eyes are set on Florida.
Big oaks, big pines, and big pecan trees. And they have been snapped like twigs.
People went days without power and no way to cook hot food. Kentucky Baptist Relief showed up with mobile kitchens and helped cook over 50,000 meals.
They had lunch meat, they had things they could eat. That had all spoiled. They didn't have electric, and it was hot and humid when we got here.
And with another hurricane just hitting Florida, these people are looking at how they might help their neighbors to the south. Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Smith tells us they are not sure how long their deployment will be in Florida. Appalachian Regional Healthcare is extending its window for taking up donations for victims of Hurricane Helene. You can go to the lobby of any ARH location and drop off items from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Canned food, baby care items, and water can be accepted. They'll also accept other things such as flashlights and batteries and personal hygiene products such as deodorant and hand soap. A Wolfe County man is facing charges after he reportedly crashed into a streetlight pole and a power line. Leslie County deputies responded to the incident, which happened this morning in downtown Hyden. When they arrived, no one was inside the Nissan. Deputies later saw a man stumbling, identified as Joseph Burkhart, across a parking lot with marks consistent with a car crash. After being released from a hospital, Burkhart was taken to the Leslie County Detention Center. A Pike County man and woman are facing charges after police noticed the vehicle they were driving had a broken windshield. KSB troopers were patrolling the area on Tuesday when they noticed that issue. This led to a chase where the vehicle was all over the road before going into a ditch. The driver, Austin Sloan, was arrested after failing a sobriety test. Sloan and Elisha Robinson were taken to the Pike County Detention Center. At least 5 kids were injured following an incident at the Jenny Wiley Festival. In a post on social media, Prestonsburg Mayor Rick Hughes said a ramp broke at the carnival. Mayor Hughes said first responders quickly assessed the situation and those involved were taken to Highlands ARH Regional Medical Center just to be checked out. Hughes told WYMT he believes all the children are okay. Officers with the London Police Department say they've received reports of a phone scam in the area. In a post on Facebook, it says the person claims to be with Kentucky Utilities and threatens to turn off the victim's power unless they make a phone payment. They say to verify information, to make sure to call KU directly before making any payments over the phone. Earlier this month, the Biden-Harris administration announced a $1.7 million investment to lower energy costs in rural Kentucky. Funding for local projects comes from the USDA's Rural Energy for America program. It supports one of the primary technologies is solar power. But the Bluegrass State has been slow to come around and accept the advancements. Program coordinators say some businesses are seeing a return on investment as quickly as 3 years.
It's taken time for parts of the state to be more open to the program, but I think it's beneficial for everybody, and you know, everybody's seeing that benefit now.
Coming up tonight at 11, we'll introduce you to a Bourbon County farmer who says it's been one of the best decisions they've ever made for that operation. We'll also hear from the USDA state director who says one grocery store in Letcher County is benefiting from the funding. Governor Andy Beshear hosted a Team Kentucky update today. The governor discussed a number of topics, including economic development, the state's response to natural disasters, and infrastructure improvements. Johnson County Judge Executive Mark McKenzie was also in Frankfort. The Johnson County Fiscal Court is using more than $4.5 million for a project known as the Kentucky 321 Shared Use Path.
And this project represents a tremendous step forward for us in our community's infrastructure, connectivity, and safety. The corridor of Route 321 is one of our most congested and traveled in the community. So with this funding, we will be able to create a dedicated, safe path for pedestrians and cyclists.
McKenzie also says with the funding, this will help those with mobility challenges navigate through the community. Also in that briefing, Governor Beshear announced new funding to support veterans. The Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs Board approved $145,000 to 4 organizations to support veteran programs. Kentucky's Habitat for Humanity received $90,000 of that funding. The money will be used to repair the homes of low-income veterans. Governor Beshear says more than $955,000 has been raised for 29 organizations. One Magoffin County family is mourning the loss of a 17-year-old student, daughter, and friend. WYMT's Buddy Forbes was at her high school when students and staff honored her this afternoon.
Anyone who would like to join us for a prayer and a balloon release in memory of Kayla.
Magoffin County's senior class is mourning the loss of one of its own.
Losing her is not easy. It's not easy today. It won't be easy tomorrow, and it'll never be easy, of course, especially for her family.
17-year-old Kayla Elam died in a car crash Sunday, shocking the community and her school as they remember the person and peer she was.
Lived that precious life with kindness and caring for others. She was sweet. She came to us with humor. She came to us with all the things that you would love in a student.
Principal Brian Conley says this loss marks the 3rd person in the class of 2025 to die unexpectedly. So the students are having a hard time making sense of things.
Students have questions, but frankly, adults have questions as well about why these things have to happen.
He says though Elam was mostly a virtual student over the last couple of years, her presence as a Hornet was just as strong as the group of classmates who joined together to pray and release a single balloon in her memory Thursday.
And help ease their worries and pains as they go through this very difficult time. We know that Magoffin County will always hold Kayla in our hearts forever.
The greatest thing for us right now is just to be thinking of Kayla, thinking of her family, praying for her family.
In memory of our sweet Kayla.
Saying the senior will always be remembered for her smarts and her spirit.
I remember her smiling. You know, my memories of her would just remain with her happiness and just with her smile.
And the empty seat she leaves behind can never be filled. In Magoffin County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
The district canceled classes for tomorrow to allow folks to attend her funeral. You can find those arrangements on our website.
All right, here's a look at your evening planner. We'll see sunshine around the 7 o'clock hour with temperatures around 64. Then we'll go into the upper 50s as we go throughout the 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock time frame. But we have cooler weather in the forecast. Details in a few minutes. Stay with us.
And the Lieutenant Governor pays a visit to Knox County today. We'll tell you why.